When it comes to the whole civil service thing, there's this argument now of whether 91,000 civil service jobs are going to be cut. Jacob Rees-Mogg was telling us yesterday that people aren't going to lose their jobs, it's going to be natural wastage. So he claims. But anyway, it's cutting the service by a fifth and should save £3.5 billion a year to help, supposedly, cut the cost of living crisis.
The trouble is, though, we're already suffering backlogs getting passports and driving licences. Could they be further hit by more delay if workers decide to strike in protest over the huge jobs cull?
Let's talk to Mike Clancy, who's General Secretary of the Prospect Trade Union. Good to see you this morning. Look, this is supposedly natural wastage, so we were told yesterday. So does it still cause concerns for you and your members?
Well, of course it does, because the civil service has been cut for over a decade now. I'll just give you one example. The idea that civil servants are all pen pushers is a trope that's necessary to land this argument from certain parts of government. We represent people who are technical civil servants, people who've got comparators in the private sector who are often paid more. Health and safety inspectors, they take 2 to 3 years to train. They're then very valuable commodities in the commercial world. And if you look at their numbers, there's more parliamentarians now than there are health and safety inspectors. And that's just one example of how the public services face a resource challenge now. We're very happy to have a conversation about efficiency, about working patterns. But what you mustn't do is do this via the media. You know, a few weeks ago, the government was rightly railing about the behaviour of P&O when they announced these terrible job losses via video. And there was, I think, a national reaction to that. Now, if you're coming to work and you're being told you're lazy, you're being told that there's too many of you, that impacts morale. And the people that we have the privilege to represent do key infrastructure for public services. So it's not, the quill pen civil service of certain ministers' impression. These are key people, and they're also people that we clapped only a couple of years ago.
But what we don't know from this is what sort of civil servants they're talking about, because Jacob Rees-Mogg said there is a turnover, that's where the wastage comes from, where you can, without actually firing anyone, of 38,000 a year. So these job losses would happen over a couple of years, and then you've hit your figures. Now, that doesn't sound like it's going to be that sort of turnover with the sort of people you're talking about.
Well, another example is we represent people in the Intellectual Property Office who are really key to business innovation in the Office of Nuclear Regulation, who are going to be the people ensuring that we can have a new mix in terms of the energy generation. 38,000 is a figure that's plucked out of the air. And they're talking about 91,000, which is another figure plucked out of the air. This is government on the hoof. And it's not government which is going to sustain the recovery, enable the government's own levelling up agenda to be delivered. 80% of civil servants work outside of London. The median wage for a civil servant is 29,000. These are not glamorous pay levels. And the government is in a war for talent. Most of the members I represent are in the private sector. And one of the things I would say your viewers really need to think is, I don't know a single private sector employer that is behaving with its workforce the way the government is behaving with its own.